Hello, here we are with a hands-on comparison of the Samsung Galaxy S4 against the Samsung Galaxy S4 Active. In this video we're going to show you what the differences are between the two devices. Now I must start off by saying that the devices we have here are SIM-free unlocked UK variants available from clove.co.uk, so there may be some differences if you were to compare it with other devices from around the world. I'd also mention that this S4 is my own personal device. There is an element of customization here, so do take that into consideration in the comparison, but it shouldn't make too much difference. So first things first, the S4 Active essentially is an enhancement on the Galaxy S4. It's got an IP rating, which means it's protected against water and dust, and you can put this device in water up to a depth of 1 meter for 30 minutes and the device will still work. So here you can see we've got a fully working unit, no issues with that. What I'm going to bring in here is a bowl of water and just plonk it in like that, and what we're going to then try and do is we'll keep that in shot so you can see that it's still working, and we'll show you the S4. So this isn't IP rated. Whilst it might live up to a few splashes and things in day-to-day life, it's not going to be IP rated at all, so I wouldn't advise dropping it in water because it will actually break it. So if we look then at the hardware design of these two units, so we've got a physical home button here, and then we've got touch sensitive navigation buttons down here on the Samsung Galaxy S4. Bear that in mind when we have a look at the S4 Active in a moment. We've got the micro USB port down the bottom here. We've got the headphone jack on the top, and we can pull off this black mist back cover that we have on this S4 to reveal the battery compartment and the micro SD and SIM card slot. So you can see what that's like on the S4. Now let's just take this out of the water so you can see that it's still working here. Let's just quickly dry it off a bit. Okay, so the main thing to note is the buttons down here. Rather than one home button in the center, we've now got 3 physical buttons. Now that's actually quite a nice feature in itself, I think, because it gives that tactile feedback when you're actually using the device rather than the touch sensitive ones. But this is primarily because you can actually use the device underwater, so you need those keys because the touch sensitive ones won't work. If we then take a look at the USB port, we'll actually see that this time we've got a little cover on it. Now that is to protect from water ingression, so you do need to remove that each time you want to charge the device or connect it to a computer. But that cover then has to go back across there to actually protect that port from water. So if I was to bung that back in the water now, I need to make sure that is actually covered. If we then take a look at the headphone jack, you may expect that we would have a cover over that as well, but this isn't actually the case. This is actually protected. It's by Samsung with special coatings, so the water will get into the headphone jack on the device, and there's no issue with that. You can actually use it. It won't affect the internals of the device at all. So that's a really nice feature if you use music on the go quite a lot, but you may also be near water as well. Now if we actually have a look at the back cover, you'll notice that the S4, the whole thing has actually come off. Well, on here, on the S4 Active, you'll notice this framing here. This is the actual back cover, and if I just pull it off, you'll notice it's come off quite happily, and we've got a similar layout inside with the battery, micro SD and a SIM card slot, but we have retained these bits at the top, and we've also got this sort of hardware rough look with the screws. It's kind of makes it look a little bit rugged. They don't actually look like screws that you can remove. They're just there, I think, for design aesthetics. But you'll also notice the back cover on the internals is this piece of rubber going all the way around, and it matches up perfectly around with this glossy black bit in here, and that's what keeps your battery, micro SD and SIM cards safe. When you put the back cover on it, you have to make sure you press down actually from the top. So you slot that in there like so, and you press down around this seal and clip everything in place like so. You have to be quite forceful, and that makes sure the battery is protected with this IP rating. So that's the difference in terms of the actual hardware. The next biggest difference is with the camera. So we can see on both of these that they've got rear-facing cameras. Now, the S4 has a 13 megapixel camera, where the S4 Active has just an 8 megapixel camera. Both record in 1080p and have LED flashes. Both have front-facing cameras as well. So, you know, you've got plenty of scope in terms of usability on the camera. The S4 Active is a little bit different though. Whilst it's only 8 megapixels, it does have a special mode called Aqua Mode, and this is designed to take advantage of its underwater capability. So if we just go into modes here, you can see we've got Aqua Mode. Now this is something that the Galaxy S4 doesn't have, and as you can see here, if you're in this mode, you'll be unable to use the touchscreen when in the water. So use the volume key as the camera or record key. Selecting this option will change the volume key settings. So you use the volume keys as your record key, and it also has the technology to try and basically remove some of the blur from the water and that. So that Aqua Mode is an enhancement over and above the Galaxy S4. Everything else is the same. Sorry. Of course, the only major difference is the resolution of the photos. So if I just go into the camera application here on the S4, you'll see how they are in fact, nigh on identical in terms of their features. So that's the camera. The other consideration is the battery. Both have 2,600 milliamp hour batteries under the back cover. On the Samsung official website, they do actually claim that the S4 Active has slightly different usage patterns to the S4. And I think that's because of the IP rating and what's involved with getting that rating. It's just having an effect on the battery, and in places the S4 Active isn't quite as good. I mean, there's negligible difference to be fair, and in everyday life both of these will need a charge at the end of the day. So that being said, the next thing to come on to is the size and weight. In terms of physical dimensions, there are differences. It's like points of millimeters really, but you'd be hard pushed to tell the difference that the S4 Active is the bigger unit. Maybe just fractionally there on the thickness, you will pick up that the S4 Active is that little bit thicker. The main difference between the two though is the weight. The S4 Active weighs in at about 21 grams heavier, so that is quite noticeable when you're carrying the two devices around. It's still not as heavy as some devices, but it's heavier than the S4 there because of that IP rating. At the time of the recording of this video, there is a price difference between the two. It's approximately 40 odd pounds difference. The S4 Active is the cheaper of the two, and that is most likely down to the fact that the camera is a lower grade. But then you've got to think that you have got the advantages of the IP rating, but you have got the slight additional bulk and that bit of extra weight. So whether the S4 Active is really going to be for you is a personal one. I'd opt for the S4 Active if you're into your water sports, maybe if you work in a trade like you're a plumber or something like that, but you still want a high-end handset. It's a very good device. I can't really knock it. The camera is the only downside, and the S4 does take a better picture, as you'll see in our comparison on blog.clove.co.uk. That does make a difference, that camera. And of course, on an ongoing basis, the weight could be an issue, and over the average life of ownership of about 24 months, the sort of 40 odd pounds difference isn't really going to make much difference. So there we have it. That's the S4 Active against the Samsung Galaxy S4. Be sure to check out our website www.clove.co.uk, our blog blog.clove.co.uk. But until next time, thanks for watching.